Hey guys, it's Susie from Girl Gone Green. Welcome back to my channel. If you're not familiar, I have a whole blog that I've been blogging about natural living and natural beauty for 7 years, and now I have a YouTube channel within the last year that I started, just sharing all my favorite natural living hacks, natural beauty, all that. So today we're doing a full-on eyeshadow tutorial. I've had a lot of requests for how to do eyeshadow, what products to use in clean beauty, and so I thought what better time when fall has hit to do it, especially with fall and winter coming on. I feel like more people tend to wear more shadows and kind of play up their eyes a little bit more. So I'm gonna dive right in. Okay, if you haven't started following me, make sure and follow me on Instagram. I'm at Girl Gone Green. I just share all about my natural life, everything, my kids, all the good stuff. And then I have a Facebook group called Girl Gone Green Babes where I go and basically we're all there just talking about natural living. I'm answering questions, giving feedback. You guys share so much. It's just a great place to learn and grow together. And then if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe below, hit that big red button. And then right next door, hit the bell notification so you'll be the first to know when I have a brand new video up. I definitely love my subscribers and I want you guys to feel really just part of this family and this community. And if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Happy to answer them. And definitely share like any tips or tricks too. I'm always open to anything that you're learning too about natural living or natural beauty. So share them in the comments. Okay, if you are new to clean beauty and you're like, okay, I don't know how to do shadow, I'm here for you. But I wanted to share first, before I get into the tutorial, like just some of my favorites eyeshadows that I love as far as palettes in clean beauty, because I think a lot of times people will ask me like, I want a really matte shadow or I want a satin shadow, and they're not sure like where to look or where to turn. So I'm just gonna share some of my favorites across the board when it comes to clean beauty makeup eyeshadows. So my first is Clove and Hallow, which I'm actually doing my tutorial on today because it's awesome and I've like been obsessed with it lately. I think it's the perfect fall palette. It just like has all those fall colors that just scream like, put them on me, it's fall. This is their Sunrise palette though. They have 2 matte colors and then the rest are the satin colors, so they have a little bit of sheen to them. When I say sheen, I don't mean shimmer. I'm not talking like your 13-year-old daughter's like eyeshadow palette that's just full of, you know, sparkle and shimmer. It's just like a subtle sheen to it. It has a little bit more shine. When the light hits it, it has more pigment. So that's what I mean when I say sheen or satin. So this is a great palette though. I'm wearing it currently and I'm obsessed. I love Well People, one, because they're really budget friendly. I think this palette is maybe $24.95 and they have several different colors that they come in. So this one is their nudist eyeshadow palette in the violet based hue. So it's going to be all more like those plum violet colors. I love how they always kind of go from light to dark. It really helps you apply them, especially if you're a beginner shadow person. I think it really helps to kind of know like where to apply them and just to not have too many. It doesn't feel super overwhelming. And again, like super budget friendly. They have a couple matte ones right here, and then these ones have a little bit of sheen to them. I would say they're even less sheen though than the Clove and Hallow. These are like even more matte. And they do have a couple others that are even more matte. So definitely check out Well People if you want to save a little bit money and just kind of get a basic palette to start your eyeshadow journey. Another brand that I love for shadows and I've used a lot of is the CRUNCHI palette. So this one is their shadow bar in volume 1. I really like it. Again, it's super basic and simple, so it doesn't feel overwhelming when you open it up. And they're all really matte pretty much. The gold one has like a slight sheen to it, but pretty matte overall. They stay a really long time. The longevity is amazing on these. And again, like pretty budget friendly overall for this palette as well. So really like the CRUNCHI palettes too. Okay, so a brand that I discovered last year, it's been about a year I've been using them, is Aether Beauty, and I absolutely love their eyeshadow palettes. I really actually was or I found them, I should say, after Beauty Counter discontinued their matte or their powder shadows. So I was kind of like on the hunt at the time for like a palette that was a little bit bigger because people always ask me like for eyeshadow palettes that are a little larger, and Aether Beauty fits the bill. As you can see, this one's pretty well loved. This one is their Rose Quartz Crystal Gemstone. Again, a lot of their shadow colors are shimmer or sheen. They do have a lot of matte ones though in it as well. There's 4 matte ones too. Super pretty, super versatile. You could wear this, you know, every day, going out, dress it up, play it up. This one doesn't even have a name, but it's super pretty. I think it's just more their Violet Hued palette because clearly all of the colors are more like in that range. I haven't even used it yet. I'm so excited. I just literally got it in the mail, but I wanted to show you guys how pretty it is. But I really love their palettes just because, like I said, they are very like versatile, and it's kind of like the only eyeshadow that you ever need. And if you're really into shadows or into makeup and clean beauty, this was like be perfect. So highly recommend them. If you're looking for just like individual shadows, you just want something really basic, I love ALIMA Pure. They have a ton of different matte shadows, just individual ones you can buy, especially if you're just like a minimalist and you don't want to have a ton of products around. I highly recommend these. These are perfect. I use them a lot. Another brand that I don't currently have with me, but I've used in the past is Kira Weiss, and I love their eyeshadow palettes as well. They are like a true matte. So if you're looking for a really matte shadow, especially if you have more mature eyes or mature skin, hooded eyes, I really, really recommend Kira Weiss. I love their shadows for just a little bit more mature skin, and because they're so matte, they work so well with mature skin. So definitely check out those palettes if you haven't. And now we're gonna dive into the full eyeshadow tutorial. Okay, the first thing that you wanna do is to prep your eyelid for eyeshadow is to start with an eye cream. You don't want anything super heavy or ultra hydrating, just something to kind of help moisturize overall the eye area. I see a lot of times people who have like dried out under eye area or dried out on the lid, and it really just doesn't make the shadow look good. This just helps prep your lid perfectly for shadow. So a couple recommendations I love in clean beauty are, one that's super budget friendly is actually Folane's eye cream. I think this is like $30 something. It's firming and brightening, really does a great job. It soaks right in. And then a new favorite that I've discovered within the last month is actually Violet's Are Blue Eye Illuminating Gel Cream. I love this because it's not only creamy, it is hydrating, but it's more of a gel consistency. So it feels a lot less, you know, like too hydrating, or it's not too creamy where it's going to look a little too glowy or a little too moisturizing. So really, really love this one. It sinks right into your eye area so nicely. So I'm actually going to use this. Just use a little bit. You don't need a ton of product, and then just dab it in. I like to kind of use like a tapping motion all over my eye. And then the trick is you want to make sure that you leave this to dry. So this is not something that you want to do and then right away you start applying your other products. You want to let it sit for just a minute and then move on. Okay, so once you have added the eye cream, you want to add an eye primer. So a lot of times I feel like eye primers don't necessarily work out, or there aren't great ones. The only one I really, really love in clean beauty is Elia's eye cream. As you can tell, mine is well loved. This one is so good. It really does just help prime your lid and get it ready before you put on your eyeshadow. Primers also really help the pigment stick better, help avoid creasing. So there's so many good reasons why you want to use an eye primer rather than just apply your shadow directly to your lid. Anytime you do that, it just tends to flake, kind of crease out, and can really look more dispersed and not as pigmented by the end of the day. You can also though use a concealer too. I've had really good success using concealers. Kind of depends on which type of concealer you use. My favorites in clean beauty are Beauty Counter's Skin Twin Creamy Concealer, and then I also love Fit Glow Beauty's Conceal Plus, because both of them are a little bit more thicker in nature, not like super thick, but thick enough where they have a really good priming, and then they kind of almost dry a little bit more matte. So I feel like they just work perfectly as an eye primer as well. So I love these as well. I'm going to use the Ilia eye primer though today so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. So I'm going to just apply this directly onto my lid. You don't need a ton of product, just enough. And then I just use my finger and rub it in. Kind of has like a thicker consistency, almost like frosting a little bit. Just let that dry for a second. It dries pretty quick. And next I'm gonna apply a translucent powder. So I actually love Beauty Counter's mattifying powder. It is hands down my favorite when it comes to a translucent powder. This is their old packaging, but you can definitely, it's the same product. It's just a new packaging. And what I like to do is I like to apply this all over my lid. I'm gonna use a CRUNCHI brush. It's number 7. My brushes are all over the place, you guys. So I have some from CRUNCHI, I have some from Westman Atelier, I have some from RMS, Aaron's Faces. Kind of like runs the gamut as far as brushes because I just love a lot of them for different reasons and they're different sizes. So what I do is I just take a little bit from the cap and then I tap it off and then I'm just gonna apply it on top. So what the translucent powder does, or I should say the mattifying powder does, is it really helps to kind of just make sure and even out your lid overall. A lot of times you have maybe a little excess oil, so it helps avoid creasing. It also creates even more of an even canvas with that primer so that it just flows really nicely and the eyeshadow goes on super evenly, which is what we want. So I love doing that last step right before I apply the eyeshadow. Okay, next I'm going to apply the eyeshadow. I have been loving Clove and Hallow's palette. This is their Sunrise Press palette. As you can see, some of them are satin finish, which have a little bit of sheen to them. And then some of them are matte, 2 of them are matte. I love this palette though lately because it's so fall, it's October now, and you just, I don't know, it screams fall. Like you wanna apply like all the autumn colors, all the fall colors. So really, really pretty. It's a great everyday wear palette. You can kind of play it down or play it up if you're gonna go out at night and do a little bit more. So I'm gonna kind of show you how I use it. I also really like this palette for beginners because I love how it has a lighter shade and then it gradually gets darker. It really helps you when thinking about your eye and where to apply shadow as far as like light and darker in the creases and in the lid. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through what brushes I'm using and then how I apply it. Okay, so I really love Aaron's Faces. This is actually her concealer brush, but I have been using it for shadow for a while now, and I just really love it because it's dual-sided and it has like a blending brush that I use on one end after I do my shadow in my lid to blend, and then I like this brush for applying just kind of my lighter shades. It's a little bit bigger overall, so it really works great. So I'm gonna take the lightest shade here, get some product, tap it off. That way you don't get a lot of fallout underneath your eye. I tend to do a lot of my makeup beforehand and then I'll do my shadow. I know a lot of people, you know, they'll do their shadow first and then they do their face makeup. I don't really feel like there's a rhyme or reason. It just depends on what you prefer. A lot of people love doing their eye makeup first because they feel like they do get a lot of fallout or excess shadow, and so they want to do their base and their foundation last to kind of help, you know, wipe that away. I find whatever works for you. For me, I like to apply my foundation, my bronzer, everything first, and then I do my eyes just because it kind of helps me see like what look I'm going for and kind of get like the feel for everything and color palette wise, but you do you. Okay, so after I get a little bit of the light product, I'm gonna go right underneath my brow bone and do the lightest shade. So when I do this, I am literally just applying the lightest shade right underneath my brow. The reason I do this is it's really gonna help lift up your eye, give it that instant eye lift, instead of you know, doing it like a lot of times people do darker shadows, like you want to do the lightest like right here. This is really going to give you like that instant eye lift. And then I'm going to take some and do it in the inner corners as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of a lift. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I haven't really done my brows yet, so I'll do my brows afterwards. Give you guys the final look. Okay, so once I'm done with the lid, I'm gonna do my shadow color or my lid color for, or excuse me, my shadow color for my lid. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a little bit of the champagne color right here. So it's just a touch darker than what I just did. I'm gonna use the same brush and I'm just gonna put a little product, tap it off again, and then I'm just gonna apply this kind of like right a little bit over from where I applied the lighter color right there. Just to kind of, the lighter colors, anytime there's lighter colors on the inner corner of your eye, it's really gonna help your eye pop and stand out. It's gonna help you look more awake. If you had like a really bad night of sleep, it's really gonna help you look a little bit more revived and energized. This is just like a really good beginner look. So if you have never done eyeshadow, or maybe you're intimidated or you see other people, I feel like this is just a really great everyday look, everyday wear. You can do nothing crazy. So after we do that, I'm actually gonna go in with this color here. It's a little bit darker. It does have a satin finish a little bit, and I'm gonna actually take my RMS Beauty brush in 10E. I love this brush because the bristles are a little tighter and it's a little smaller. And since I'm doing it on my lid, I want a little bit of a smaller brush. So same thing, get some product, tap it off. And then I'm just going to apply this right here. I'm just doing it on the outer corner of my eye. So almost like I'm starting in the middle. Do you notice how I kind of did the champagne color right here? And then now I am doing this color right here. And you're almost just kind of tapping it in, pressing and lifting up really lightly. I'm gonna blend this once I'm done. And I think a lot of times people are super intimidated by blending, but what I can say is it really just takes practice. I think the more you do it, the more you see what looks good, what doesn't, and you just get better at it, like anything. So I'm gonna blend this so you guys can see what it looks like. I'm gonna take my Erin's Faces blending brush. So this end, it's a little bit bigger. You can see that. And I'm just going to blend that kind of. So this just kind of is where that color and then meets the lighter color. So it kind of just looks a little bit more even. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Grab that color again, right here. And then I'm going to blend, or I should say apply, then blend. The smaller brushes are great too because I feel like they don't pick up as much product and get it everywhere, so you don't get as much fallout, which is really nice. Okay, I'm gonna take that blending brush again and do the same thing. So I'm just blending that up. Okay, once you are done, we've put 3 colors on so far. Now we are going to add the darker color. So this is gonna be your crease color right here. This is the darkest color. I'm actually gonna use the same brush. I really, really love this brush for any sort of darker colors overall. Same thing, add some product, tap it off. And then we're just gonna take it and kind of form a V. So what I like to do is you go right down on the lash line, so you're literally as close as you can get. Then you're gonna go up and form a V. See how I'm literally going and doing the V. So I'm going right there in the crease and then I'm coming down to form that V. So it's like this, dun, dun, to really get that V. You can add a little bit more product. Don't put too much product on for this though, just because you can overdo it. Start with a little, especially if you're inexperienced, and then add more. So same thing, I'm gonna take my blending brush and I'm going to blend it. One tip I wanted to tell you too is if you have hooded eyelids or if you have mature eyelids, you really wanna go a little bit higher with the darker color. Because when your eyes get more mature or if they're hooded, you're not gonna be able to see the darker color when your eye is just up a lot of times. And so you want to bring it up a little bit in order to be able to, you know, really see the color and the pigment and the shadow if you have mature eyes or hooded eyes. And it also helps to kind of draw the eye up too when you have a little bit more pigment right there. So it's kind of funny because you always want to use the lighter color for sure. But I find if you do have more of the hooded eye or the mature eye, you want to make sure you do have enough of that darker color to really help it kind of stand out and for you to be able to see it. So as you can see, it's super well blended, a little bit darker, a little bit more defined than the other side. So now what I'm going to do is take it and apply same thing on the other side. Again, not using too much product. Form that V, and then take your blender brush. This could just be a bigger brush overall, and then you just want to go out with it to really blend that. Again, if you feel like you need more product or pigment, feel free to add it. I'm just literally pressing in and lifting up when I'm doing it. So what I like to do is I kind of go back over, I look at both my eyes, make sure they're even. If I see anything where I'm like, oh, I need to add a little bit more whiteness or a little more lightness over there, a little more in my crease, I'll do that. So right now I'm gonna kind of take a look and see. I noticed when I looked at it, I wanted to add a little bit more right here of just the lighter color. And this is when I go back in and I add a little bit right to the tear ducts. This really helps to give your eye that wide awake look that I was mentioning earlier. So I just apply this right there. And I just wanted to apply a little bit more overall on that eye. Okay, that's basically just a good tutorial for like a beginner if you're wanting to do eyeshadow. I find really it just takes a lot of time, especially when you're just getting started. Practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the better you'll get. I also wanted to show you, so once I'm done with my shadow is I'll take my concealer and I'm gonna go back in and I'm just going to conceal wherever I just applied my product because I wanna make sure it's really well blended and it looks really light under there, especially if I had any fallout, just to kind of clean it up. Even if I have applied my shadow, I'll go back through and do this just to make sure that I have a really clean looking under eye area. Kind of just adds to the brightness overall too. Anywhere I see a little bit of redness, I'm gonna kind of blot it out. And then of course, I'm gonna make sure my eyebrows are done. I'm gonna do my mascara, and then I'll show you guys the final look. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that eyeshadow tutorial and it was super helpful. That is such a great beginner's way to just do eyeshadow, is to really think of it almost in thirds too, of like doing your lightest shade, then like more of a medium shade kind of in your crease, and then doing your really darker shade in the V shape. And then just blending it. Blending is huge and can really make a difference, even when you maybe make a mistake or you feel like, ooh, I messed up a little bit. That can be huge. So definitely check that out. But this is the final look. So I applied some mascara. I applied just a pencil liner, my eyebrow pencil, and then some lip products. So I'll leave all the details for all the products that I used besides the shadow below as well, so that you guys can make sure and shop those. Again, thank you so much for shopping with me. Anytime you do shop through my links below, they are affiliate links, and I do earn a small commission. So I just want to say thank you. It helps obviously keep the channel going and keep me sharing more videos. So really appreciate it. I hope you loved this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and make sure and leave me a comment if you learned something, or if you have any tips you want to share with me. I love hearing your tips as well. So hope you guys have a great week. I will see you next week for another video. Bye.